Hello. I think we're getting there. I didn't set it up the way I normally set it up, so we'll wait a few minutes. Make sure you say g'day. And if you haven't subscribed, do so. Doesn't hurt, helps me. Don't forget Patreon as well. If you want to look me up on Patreon, that's a real big help. And leave a comment. Hit like, leave a comment, all those things. They all help, apparently. I'm still getting messages about training tonight, which has had to be cancelled. So anyway, how are you? Don't forget to leave a message. Make sure that I know who you are, and welcome aboard. So it's just going to be a little short one today. As you can see, I'm not in a gi. I'm actually in Wollongong, which is about 100 kilometres south of Sydney. We have a big grading tomorrow, a couple of fourth dans, a few third dan gradings. So I came down today to get ready for that. And the dojo down here is run by Jason Baltoff and Shane Cunliffe. But anyway, they're doing their fourth dan tomorrow. So it's going to be an exciting day. First of all, just wanted to say I won't be here for very long today, maybe 20 minutes. What we have is just some sad news about losing one of Kyokushin's early famous early personalities, particularly Kyokushin in Japan, is Sensei Jan Kallenbach. Jan Kallenbach from Holland. He was originally a student of John Blooming and Kenji Kurosaki. And he wanted to learn a little more, so he actually went to Japan in 1967 and trained at Hombu. And he was, by all reports, a very strong fighter, had a lot of, gained a lot of respect in Japan. And one of the people he met was Royama Hatsuo Kancho, who's the head of the Kyokushinkan. Royama Hatsuo introduced him to Sawai Sensei. Sawai Sensei from Takiki-Ken. Takiki-Ken is, it's a Japanese version of Yi Chuan. Let me see if I can. Yi Chuan is a kind of internal style of Chinese martial arts. Yi Chuan. Let me see if I can write that on my infamous Zen brush. I made the strokes a little watery today, but that's okay. That's Yi Chuan. Iken in Japanese, or the fist of the mind, or willpower fist. So it's kind of an internal style, Yi Chuan. It's a kind of an internal style that Takiki-Ken, Sawai Sensei's Takiki-Ken, was based on. And Jan Kallenbach was probably his first non-Japanese student, but he ended up leaving Kyokushin very early on, and he remained with Takiki-Ken until he passed away just 2 days ago. So a sad loss, commiserations to his family, bless his soul, and I hope he comes back in a happy way. Rochelle, good. All of a sudden this populated. I had nothing in the chat, and now I have everything. So Frederick, Urs, Rochelle, Marco, Torbjörn, Matus, Urs, hey Gaza, hope you're doing well. Paul Higginson, I saw that message of yours too. Patty, how are you? Kenneth Lim, Urs, and Harry, and Brad. Good to see you, my buddy Brad Hansen there, who was the the main proofreader of my book, he's actually recovering from a hip surgery, and he's a show off. He's telling me how well it's going. So good on him. Glad to hear that. The other thing too is I'm a card player. Not a very good one, as you can tell. But these are the new ADOCAD, the new Budo Karate deck of cards for doing your ADOCAD. So there's 8 squats, 9 push-ups. So there you have it. Really fun deck. You can use these in the dojo to get everybody to do that. Remember, when you do the full deck of cards, the full ADOCAD, it's 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and 100 burpees. And when the Joker comes up, just by coincidence, it was on the bottom. And when the Joker comes up, you can actually do a round of shadow sparring, if you like. So that always helps as well. And Darren Stringer in UK saw the cards and he said, how about a trick? So I thought what I'd do is I'd show you a trick. I call this the 4 Kings. So I take the deck of cards and we take these kings out here. Okay, hang on. It's hard to see because I'll see if I can do it there. You have to cut my face out. But these are the 4 kings, you see. And we had the 4 kings were an infamous bank robbing group. And what they do is, this is the bank, multi-storied bank. It's the Commonwealth Bank down in Martin Place in Sydney. Went there today to get my hair cut. But anyway, the 4 kings would parachute in at nighttime and land on top of the building. And one king would go down and stand guard at the bottom. Another king would go to the control room here. And another king would go to the safe floor. And of course, the 4th king would stay on top and keep a guard out. So away they go. They're doing all their I'm not very good at shuffling, but anyway, they do all their bank robbing. And then if they got disturbed, how do you cut cards? There you go, like that. If they got disturbed, they'd all meet in the magic floor, which was their escape route. So let me have a look, see if I can do it there. So we'll go through the cards. I'm doing this in reverse. I can hold up my face now. There you go, look. Here come the kings. They're all hiding on the one floor. 1, 2, 3, 4. So how about that? The 4 kings. The bank robbers. But anyway, you can even do card tricks with your ADOCAD deck of cards. Very cool. I'm having a bit of fun here. But anyway, away you go. They've got some blank cards as well. So if you lose one, you can replace it. So anyway, don't forget, have a look at the videos of the ADOCAD. It's really good, a good way to train, and you can start off with 2 cards if you want and build up. Kenneth, Harry, Brad, oh, it's good to see you. Rochelle, of course you're here. Yes, indeed. Paul Knip aus Deutschland. Guten Morgen, my friend. Must be pretty early there. But anyway, yes, so sad loss. Brad worked in the Commonwealth Bank in Martin Place. Well, I had my Commonwealth Bank piggy bank for years. You remember those tin ones that we used to have when we were kids, Brad? Sad loss for Kyokushin and the martial arts world in general, in particularly in Holland, with the loss of Sensei Jan Kallenbach. So that's that. Now, an update on the books. I'm about to send out a message to everybody, all the buyers, the readers. Turn this off. The readers of the book. The good news is the books in Canada, the last shipment, all the other countries have received their books. Just Canada was remaining because of very strict COVID regulations. and they wouldn't allow ships to even berth for a while. And now that they berthed, of course, what happened was you had a monstrous backlog. So the backlog's been cleared, and I understand, even as I'm talking, I might even just check it out, see if there's any updates. But I understand that the books have finally been cleared off the wharf. They've cleared customs, and they're on a roll. It's just a matter of time. I'm just going to open up something here and see if I can check for the Canadian. This will get you. The bank account number was the first time the bank opened on the Gold Coast, and the bank account number was 000017. So that was my bank account. Gee, I wish I kept that one. It'd be worth something. So that's pretty exciting. Now, look, thank you everybody, to the readers of the books. I'm getting so many wonderful messages of gratitude. The books are arriving left, right, and center all over the world. And I'm happy to say that people seem to be enjoying the book. I've had people who have said they've read it already. What's Jorge? Have you received your book yet? Because I know it's been sent. Everybody, all the books are out that can be out. Is it freezing? All the books are out that can be out. If I have trouble with the freeze. Oh, good. Thanks, Jorge, all the way from Costa Rica. Wonderful. I'm glad the book arrived. It's so exciting to see the book arriving in places like Slovenia, northern Norway, Sweden, all the way down to Brazil, New Zealand, of course, Australia, all over Europe, all over UK, all over United States. So it's pretty exciting. I'm really, really glad that it's going well. And you may remember that I had a problem with PayPal, and touch wood, I mean, PayPal were very, very vicious, and I will definitely never use PayPal again to sell a product, because what they did was unconscionable. They threatened, they said that my account was presented a potential risk, not even a risk. I got in touch. I said, did you even contact any customers? They said, we don't, and they shut my account permanently, and they had all the funds from all the books sitting in the account, and then they said, we're holding that for 6 months. Can you believe this? I mean, how can anyone in a business survive when your cash flow is frozen for 6 months? They said, well, freeze it for 6 months. I said, why? So, well, that's in case any customers complain and want a refund. I said, have you contacted any customers? There were 15 customers who didn't get their book because of COVID regulations in Canada. I contacted them and offered them a full refund, and not one of them said they wanted a refund. Everyone said, no, we're happy to wait. Everyone else, I sent a tracking code. They said there was nothing anyone can do. In fact, the wording is just a beauty. I've even got it in my magic little notebook. As you know, I keep notes on everything. Nothing can be done. No one can provide any specific info to prevent anyone from circumventing our processes. And I said, oh, not even the Australian government, eh? And they said they can. I said, what is it? What was the potential risk? They said, I cannot provide any info as to why the account is permanently disabled. So I said, why 6? They said, we will keep it for 6 months. So I said, no worries. So I wrote them a letter, and I said, and I'm sending a letter to the AFCA, which is the Australian Financial, the Financial Services Complaints Ombudsman. And once you complain with them, a file is started, and that company is immediately charged a $400 service fee when someone files a legitimate complaint. And lo and behold, within 24 hours, I get a message from Facebook saying, your account's back on, you can have your money. So let's see if it's true. I've requested to withdraw the money, and they said, we'll look at it for 24 hours and let you know. So anyway, that's good progress. I think at least we got some sort of progress. And the other thing too is that Toby Ryan runs a, let me see if I have the link here, runs a podcast online. Here we go. That's it there. And this is, we did an interview yesterday morning. There you go. I'll hide behind that. Goal setting, fight psychology, and we talked about the 7 stages of Kumite. We've run through it before, but anyway, look up that. That's a YouTube website. Have a bit of a look at that. If you get a chance, you might find it interesting. If you do, great. If you don't, that's okay too. But one of the things that we discussed at that was the 7 stages of Kumite, what I call the 7 stages of Kumite. And I just thought, I know it's a very short show, and I had almost promised Mike Clark that I was going to do a session on kata today, but I'd forgotten that I'm in Wollongong in New South Wales to do a grading first thing in the morning. So I'm doing the podcast from my hotel room, and I won't get a chance to put a gi on and do some work today because I just don't know the area. But I thought it's a good opportunity to run through briefly the 7 stages of Kumite. So if you have a notebook, you might enjoy this. But the 7 stages of Kumite, oh, good, thanks, Paul, yeah. The 7 stages of Kumite is a concept that I came up with, which pretty well just systematizes what I think everyone should be doing anyway to develop their Kumite skills. And what it is 7 stages. Each stage is represented by 50 rounds of Kumite, which sounds more, but if you're doing 5 rounds of Kumite a night, well, then it's only 10 days and you're done. So what you do, I call it K350. K stands for Kumite, 350 stands for 350 rounds of Kumite. So 50 rounds of each, and each of 7 stages. The first stage is simply your default position, so make sure your shape is correct. And your gaze is good. You need to know where to look, particularly until about showdown. You should be looking at the eyes. The closer you get, the more you need to look at the eyes. When you move away, of course, you can look down more at the chest. Kyokushin fighters often look at the chest because we don't have the headshots. So the need to see the intent in the eyes isn't quite the same because you're not going to get caught by the speed shots into the head. So the first level is getting your shape right and getting your gaze right. And shape, I mean the elbows in and the hands up. And then the next one is what I call dominant head position. So it means your head is always exactly 90 degrees to the opponent. I don't want to be looking at the opponent out of my eyes because the focal length of the eyes now is different, and that subtly affects your reaction timing. You always want to have dominant head position. I think Ian Abernathy described it slightly differently. He said that you never want to let your opponent be directly in front of you, but you always want your opponent directly in front of you. You never want to be directly in front of your opponent, but you always want to have your opponent directly in front of you. Well, that's simply dominant head position. It means when they move off, you have them there and you're getting outside the angle, out of the dead zone. So the second level is that head, dominant head position, and your footwork. So you focus on getting your footwork, forward, back, left, right, slipping left, slipping right, moving backwards, moving forwards, etc. So your footwork, I think that's one area which is really underestimated in Kyokushin, and probably not enough is done with it. But you will never go wrong spending a lot of time on footwork. So in our dojo, what we tend to do is we'll do a lot of footwork drills. And then when we finally get round to having the students do good, they know and cross the floor. So the third step is what I call defensive shapes and the survival mindset. So it means in Kumite, you have to be able to weather the storm. So a good default position should be able to interrupt fundamental techniques. So the fundamental punches like the front hand, the back hand, the body shot, the left rip, the uppercut, all these techniques, fundamental techniques that your survival and defensive shape should help you cover. The fundamental kicks you need to cover are like the front kick, the body kick, a roundhouse body kick, roundhouse head kick, thigh kick, back kick, knee kick. These are the kicks that predominantly you will see in full contact fighting. So the third stage is where you have developed your defensive shapes and you can survive those fundamentals. Of course, you're not going to be able to think of everything because people create new ways of throwing things all the time. But you get that survival shape, the defensive shapes and that survival mindset right, and it means you're always going to be there the next level, which is defending and countering. So level 4 is defense and counter. So each level kind of has two words to describe it. Level 1, shape and gaze. In other words, your default position, shape and gaze. Level 2 is head and footwork. So dominant head position and footwork. Level 3 is survival and defensive shapes. So survival mindset, defensive shapes. And level 4 is defend and counter. Now remember that we're talking about tournament fighting. It's not a fight. It's a sport. It's a game. The objective is to impress some judges to make them think that you won the fight. Okay, so that means when you have defense, you block that kick really well, you can't just spend the whole time blocking. You need to be able to counter fight as well. So to present the right impression for the judges, it means you drill the concept of instantaneous counter. If they hit you with one thing, you counter back straight away with 2, 3. If they hit you with their strongest technique, you counter back with that same technique, except you do it stronger than them. So this mindset of having good solid defense and followed immediately by counter fighting is level 4. And level 5 is really where you see the step off from the beginner to the master, and that is distance and angle control. If you can control distance and control angle, you're always going to be ahead because you'll always have your opponent out of position. He can't get off an offensive if you're not in his dead zone. So by having that concept of subtle distance control and the angle control, it makes all the difference. That's what a real master is. You look at someone, you go, wow, man, they just look so good when they fight. They really seem to, what is it that they're doing? And quite often it's nothing more than distance and angle. And if you've read that section in the book, I haven't got a book here, if you read the section in the book where Sensei talks about his time, or where we discuss in the book his Sensei's time with judo and how he was getting caught and he couldn't work out why he was getting caught because he was so used to using footwork. And then every night he'd go home after he'd been choked unconscious, he'd be lying there in bed thinking about it. And he was thinking, well, I'm on my back. I don't have my feet. What's footwork? And then he started to realize that the footwork of the ground is your hip movement. So he started to focus on good hip movement and realized that by doing that, he was able to change the distance and angle, not just for his own attacks, but also to neutralize Sensei, the judo instructor at the dojo was training at, to neutralize his attacks by changing the angle and distance. So you can have the same technique with the same amount of strength. At one angle, it's completely ineffective. At another angle, it's all over in a moment. So that's how important distance and angle is, and it's the same with stand-up fighting. Then at level 6, we call it my karate. So what you're doing is you're developing a degree of creative control where you want to, for example, if you're a lightweight, you're not going to fight the same as a heavyweight. If you're agile and quick on your feet, you're not going to be fighting the same as someone who is strong and squat and heavy. So you have to take control of that creativity and create what is called my karate. So that probably happens around brown belt level most significantly. But remember that, well, let me finish the 7 first. So you've got to develop your own style. You find out what works for you. And to finish off, the last level, of course, is Mushin, or the no mind. I'll write that for you in Japanese again. But Mushin, no mind. I guess in the West they call it, there's Ken. Let me just rub that out, turn the pen on. Whoops. Not reacting, but simply acting without the interference of the mind process. Gary O'Neill used to say that his whole objective in fighting was to simply take the opponent out of that mindset so that they'd have to start to think. And if they had to start to think about what they were doing, he knew he had them, because they couldn't think as quick as, they couldn't think and react as quick as he could act, be proactive. So that's the seventh stage of the 7 stages, is that mushin, that no mind. And of course, you just repeat that. You repeat it every January, every quarter, every grading, every time you finish the 350 rounds, you start again. It's an ongoing process, and it'll have a profound effect on your training and skills. Dave Cummins, yes. I hope the young lions are going well. I've been keeping an eye on Facebook and the pictures of the outdoor training you're doing over there. I can't believe it still looks so cold, even though it's heading into summer. So I guess it's just in the middle of fall at the moment. But anyway, good to see you, Dave. Hope you're well. Urs Leo, good to see you too. What are the exact rules on head contact? I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean in Kyokushin tournaments? What is allowed? In Kyokushin tournaments, do you mean, Harry? Because that's really, I was saying, I think I said last week too, there's really only summer is on the 8th of July this year. Very funny, Dave. I was visiting Bjorn Williamson up at Tromsø. Tromsø's right up 3 to 4 degrees this summer. Torbjörn, you guys are crazy. You need to come back to Australia, Dave. Bring the whole family. But I was visiting Bjorn Williamson up at Tromsø, and the day I got there, I think dawn was 11:30 in the morning, and sunset was 12:30. And then by the time I left, there was no more sunrise, no more dawn for the next 4 months or something. So every day the sun got less and less until by the time I'd left, and it was only a few days later, there was no sun for the next 6 months. It was just the craziest thing. Wow, 122, that's crazy. But anyway, good to see you, Dave. So the exact rules on head contact in tournaments is that there is no contact with the head with the hands. You can't even grab it. You can't punch it, kick it, poke it or anything like that. But you are allowed to kick the head. So you can kick it with the shin, the foot instep, the heel, the knee. So you're allowed head contact with the foot, because not that it's any safer. Some people say that's really stupid. A kick in the head's going to hurt you more than a punch. Well, not necessarily. No elbows, of course, in tournaments, because they're part of the arm. The difference is that the kicks just take that much longer, so they're so much easier to see than the head punches. You can throw a left jab at someone, and it's over before they can transfer their weight to the kicking leg, let alone kick. So no elbows to the head, no hand techniques at all to the head. So anyway, that's the 7 stages of Kumite, and it's really, really useful. If you're a Patreon member, and a shout out to Patreon, thank you very much. You should have received the outline of the 7 stages of Kumite. I can send it to you if you haven't. But first of all is the shape, body shape, or your default, what we call the default position, and the gaze, the correct place to place the gaze. Then your head position, I call dominant head position, and footwork. We have about half a dozen footwork skills that are 90% of anything you'll ever need. Then we have survival mindset. So your objective is to simply survive to start with. If you don't survive, you're not there at the end to attack. It's you need to be able to survive the onslaught so that you're able to continue on with your counterfighting. And of course, defensive shape. That just means your default position is good. Your body parts are all in the right place at the right time. And then you go to the next level, good defense, followed by immediately by good countering, because it's a tournament, so it's a game, it's not a fight. It's about creating a good impression with some judges. So always make sure that you have the counterfighting game in place. Then the big stepping off point from brown belt or getting towards brown belt is that distance and angle control. You have to be able to control the distance and control the angle to optimize your technique and to minimize your opponent's techniques. And then level 6 is where you create your own karate, my karate. So you become very creative. That's your point of creative control. That's when you're stepping off as a brown belt, starting to get ready for your showdown. You should be starting to create very good individual technical mastery that suits your mindset, your body, your physicality. And then at the end, the last step is Mushin. Mushin, like I wrote before, which is the no mind. That's the level of unconscious competence. You don't have time to think, so that's where you are. You don't have to think, and it creates a dominant presence. If you've ever sparred someone that really kind of blew your mind, what it is they have this amazing dominant presence. And if you analyze it later, it's possible they didn't even throw much at you. They might have just thrown one or two techniques, whether it's because they couldn't find an opening or they were just being nice, one of the two. But that dominant presence is the final step of the 7 stages. Anyway, it was Chrissy. Good to see you, man. You're very kind, Brad. Brad's one of my Patreons, and he actually is a member at the top tier level, which I think is $24, around that, $24 a month. If you enjoy what we do, and if you'd like to get more as well, then support what I do, support the channel, and get along to Patreon. And who knows, you might really enjoy it, and I'll appreciate it too, because it'll help me do more and more of this. Be cool if you could do a session on footwork. You know what, Mark? Somebody asked me about footwork last week, and I said I would do footwork today. Who was it? I can't remember who it was. But I said I'll do a footwork session today. Then I realized that I'm actually away from home and away from the dojo, so I'm not able to do that. So I'll have to do that next week. I'll do that footwork session. It's really exciting to do the footwork, because when you see how by drilling fundamentals, by repetitive drilling in the right way, you create incredible natural movement in your footwork skills, whether you're going forward, back, or left or right, or you're trying to use certain footwork for defense, certain footwork for attack. So anyway, it's great stuff, and I'm going to work towards doing that next week. So, folks, I'm in lovely Wollongong. It's a steel city. They have the smelter here, the steel smelter. Great place. I'm the guest of Jason Baltoff and Shihan Steve Hardy, and I go back nearly 50 years. But anyway, looking forward to that grading. 2 4th dans, if I remember, 3 or 4 3rd dans, and a similar number of 2nd dans grading tomorrow. So it'll be a big day. But anyway, I appreciate your time, everybody. If you got any questions, pop them in there now, and we're more than happy to have a little bit of a conversation and exchange. So you got Brad Hansen there, who's like my brother from another mother, and you have Chrissy Dunn, who actually is my son. I mean, he is the son of my sister, so Chrissy is my nephew. So if you've got any questions, throw them in now. It's good to see everybody. I appreciate you coming along. Dave Cummins, I don't see you here very often because no doubt it's, what is it, like 6 o'clock in the morning or something. But thanks for coming, Dave. Good on you, Paddy. I'll catch you soon. Everybody, I said it was going to be short because I'm away from home. I hope that was worthwhile, and I hope you got something out of it. Canada, your books will be on the way as soon as they go from Vancouver to the distributor in Montreal. Once they're cleared, once they have been picked up by the parcel delivery, UPS, the parcel company. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you next week for some footwork. Thanks for coming.